All right, 10:45 here on this Tuesday morning. Guess what time it is? It is Tax Tip Tuesday time, and we're joined by John Saylor from Total Tax Solutions to tackle a big question. Do you need a tax professional? Now, we'll explore when DIYer software works and when experts will save you money and red flags that you should not ignore. John, welcome back to the news desk. And I know inevitably there are going to be people out there watching who will do it and go it alone for their taxes. So let's give them a bit of a guiding hand, if we will, today, okay?
Yeah, absolutely, Jay. I mean, it really comes down to, do you trust yourself doing your tax returns, or do you trust an expert to do the tax returns that are trained? We got all the up-to-date information and this and that. And the way I really explain it to a lot of people, Jay, is pretty simple. I could figure out how to change my oil in my pickup. I could
Sure.
Google it. I could ask some friends. I could do it. Um, Unfortunately, I don't trust it, and I want it done. I want it done right. And at the end of the day, if something happens, I take it right back to the place that changed my oil and say, "Here, fix it because you guys did it." So that's kind of
Yeah.
the convenience how I look at either tax prep on your own or having a tax professional do it.
Well, are there specific income scenarios where, online filing is pretty straightforward and safe?
That's what a lot of people say. It's like, oh, I just have a couple of W-2s, Social Security, retirement. I'm just going to do it on my own. And that's great and everything. But with the changes with the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, how much overtime, what are the thresholds, the $6,000 senior discount and stuff. A lot of that it's all great if you know how it goes. The thing with us though is we have to make sure that it flows to the right forms. Even though you put it in, you might not be getting the deduction because I can put in the overtime here, but if I don't check on the schedule to make sure it flows to the Schedule 1A, it's not going to schedule or flow to the schedule or the 1040. So that's the biggest thing is just it's not just about punching in numbers, it's about knowing where this stuff goes and how it flows to the 1040 to accumulate your tax liability.
How often do you see people come to you after trying the DIY software and realizing, maybe we made a mistake?
Yeah, and unfortunately, we do see that a number of times. And some people just want like a second look and everything. And I ain't gonna lie, there's a number of times people get it right, but then there's some people that get it wrong. And the problem is if it's in that TurboTax or if it's in a different software, unfortunately, I have to charge you to put all the stuff into our software and then do the amendment to it too. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's going to cost you twice as much to do it, if you try to do it on your own.
That's generally the case, right? Listen, I'm
Hmm.
a DIYer for my home projects as well, Johnny. And sometimes I just look at it and I'm like, why didn't I just call a professional? I just made it worse. So, with that being said, what are some warning signs that someone definitely should not be filing on their own, should be calling a professional?
If they owe a lot of tax, that's kind of a trigger. Like, wait a second, if the numbers are different from last year, but you didn't change your income or your deductions from last year, that's another big trigger. It's like, well, wait a second, I should have someone look at this. I just answered an email this morning. A gal, not even my client, just said, "Hey, would you be able to take a look at this because it's saying I owe over $5,000?" Well, okay, I get it, but I need to see all of the paperwork and stuff. How did you put it in? Did you mark it as non-taxable, whatever it might be, and stuff like that. But at least she stopped and asked the question, saying, "Hey, something just doesn't look right," and that's usually the biggest trigger. Is you
Hmm.
know if it doesn't look right, sometimes it's probably not.
Do tax professionals such as yourself typically uncover savings that software misses? And what causes those
Yeah.
softwares to miss those, make big differences in returns?
It's the complexity of the software that we use. I use probably one of the highest competency tax software and stuff, but it costs a lot of money. But it picks up anything like if somebody else has been already claimed on a tax return, we get a rejection. If the tax isn't calculated properly, or you don't put the forms in the right place, I can run a diagnostic before I even file it, and it'll tell me if there's anything wrong with the state or anything wrong with the federal and stuff. And then it helps me go back to see where it's at and everything. So the software is a big part of doing taxes. But then again, knowing what you can and can't do is the key with taxes. It's like I said, it's not just punching in numbers anymore.
Yeah. Okay. So, what are some the most common situations where hiring a tax professional pays for itself, John?
Real simply, just like this morning, one of my tax preparers was working on a Schedule C, a realtor, and she had a 1099 from the brokerage for $21,000 or something like that. And so we got that, we put it in, and she owes all this tax. Well, then we look at it, and it's like, well, wait a second, she has absolutely no expenses. So we give her a call, we get some of those expenses, we do the office and the home, we do the mileage, we get all the other expenses and stuff. We saved her over $1,700 in tax that she would have had to pay if she did it on her own or if she didn't get us the expenses. So that's one thing with a professional, just like when you take your car to get an oil change and they say, hey, you really need to upgrade your air filter, or you need to change your cabin air filter, or you need to do this, you need to do that. That's why you're paying an expert to do those things, is you want to save the longevity on your vehicle, just like we want to save the longevity of your bank account. We want to make sure that you're getting that money instead of the IRS.
The complexity of some of these tax laws have changed in recent years. What does that mean for everyday taxpayers?
There's like, I don't know, there's like 800, or I'm sorry, 8,000 different tax credits and deductions out there. And for us to know them all, it's very, very tough. But it's some of the more common ones that we know that some people, the ordinary person, just doesn't understand. Like if you do a Roth conversion, from traditional to Roth, that is taxable. But if you do a backdoor Roth, that's sometimes not taxable. And there's just different things that we know that could, some simple software just wouldn't pick it up. They would just,
Mhm.
just process it and they end up paying tax on it.
All right. For anyone still unsure whether to file on their own or hire a professional, what's the single biggest factor you'd tell them to consider before making that decision, John?
The biggest thing is just knowing your tax return, and that's one thing here at Total Tax Solutions is I want to teach everybody about their tax return. I want to teach them on the 1040, why is the income captured here? Why are you getting the standard deduction? Why are you not getting the itemized deductions? Why are you getting the senior discount of $6,000 but your wife's not getting it? Well, because you're 65 or older at the end of tax season. She just turned 65 in February. So that's why you're not, well, we haven't filed our taxes yet. Yep, but it's all at the end of the year. So it's the confidence and just kind of knowing your tax return. So when you look at it, you understand it. Because there's some people that don't come back, or whatever, because they go and they do their taxes on their own after working with me. And that's great because then they've learned
Mm-hmm.
something. I feel good that they learned how to do their own taxes. And I think everybody should really have a good understanding of what they do with their taxes.
All righty. Well, John, give the folks watching a way to get a hold of you, maybe a phone number, website, whatever it might be, to make an appointment if they need help from Total Tax Solutions.
Yeah, the best thing to do, Jay, is if anybody out there is looking, has questions, or just looking to have their taxes done or whatever, just go to our website at www.totaltaxnd for North Dakota.com. And we've got questionnaires and stuff on there, some forms on there. You could schedule an appointment or just simply give us a call at 498, I'm sorry, 498-1829. 498-1829. Book an appointment, drop your taxes off. We always want to look at last year's tax return. If you're new, just so we can see if you missed anything. And if you're like yesterday, I had an appointment with a gal that she forgot her investments and she forgot her social security. And we were done with her tax return. And then I start going through it. I got my 2 year comparison and I'm like, hey, where's this and where's that? Well, then we went online, got it printed out, and finished up her tax return.
Perfect. Well, John Saylor there, Total Tax Solutions. John, you have a wonderful week. Enjoy the weather. Now, I know it's going to turn for some of us here tomorrow, but nonetheless, we're getting closer to baseball season.
Yes, we are. And it's, this weather's that's supposed to be coming in and stuff. That's why I really like to do my taxes 12 hours a day and hang out down here and, in my office, and I don't have to be out there doing this and that.
Exactly. I want you to think about something. I know you're a big Cubs fan. I want you to think about this. I personally believe with the signing of, third baseman used to be an Astro.
Bergman,
Anyway, there you go. I think the
Alex, yeah.
Cubbies have the best infield in all of baseball.
Yeah, there's no doubt, and especially if they sign Nico Horner to a long-term deal. I mean, they actually, I mean, all around. Normally you have really infield corner positions, but they're just
Mhm.
solid throughout the whole infield, and then their bench too. I mean, you look at some of the people they have on the bench that could come in, every day to play different positions. So I uh, I think the Cubbies have got it figured out here, hopefully for the next 3 to 5 years or so, and continue to build on that.
PCA, how about that guy, huh? He's an all-star.
Yep, yep. He's gonna be something for the next how many years to watch.
He is. He sure is. All right, Johnny. Well, listen, thanks a lot, pal. Look forward to catching up with you again next Tuesday with Tax Tip Tuesday and our friends at Total Tax Solutions. Have a great week, pal.
You also, Jay. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Bob. All right, quick break here at the news desk. We're right back here with more news next on KFYR Plus.